The sun was just beginning to dip behind the hills, staining the sky in hues of orange and crimson, when Daniel bent down by the roadside to gather the last of the wild roses. His fingers, calloused from years of hard labor, moved gently over each petal as if the flowers were made of glass. He didn't have much, just a rusted pickup, a pair of worn-out boots, and a tiny two-room house he shared with his daughter, Lily. But in that moment, as he arranged the blooms into a little bouquet with a few strands of grass to hold them together, he felt rich. Not in money, but in love. He had seen her earlier that afternoon, stranded by the side of the highway with a flat tire. Most cars zoomed past, but Daniel, without hesitation, had pulled over to help. She had been standing beside a sleek black car, her heels sinking into the dirt, her silk blouse sticking slightly to her back in the heat. She looked like she belonged on the cover of a magazine. Not under a sun-blistered sky next to a dusty road in the middle of nowhere. He didn't ask questions. He just smiled, wiped his hands on a rag, and got to work. "Thank you," she said softly as he finished, her voice barely above the breeze. "Would have done it for anyone," he replied, tipping his cap, not daring to meet her eyes for too long. He didn't want her to see how tired they looked, how much life had worn him down. But she had seen. "Wait," she called as he turned to leave. "What's your name?" "Daniel," he said over his shoulder. "Daniel Moore." She watched as he drove away in his battered truck, a little girl leaning against the window, waving shyly. That image etched itself into her mind like a painting, simple, raw, and beautiful. Her name was Evelyn Carter. Billionaire. CEO. Born into wealth, but not blind to the emptiness it sometimes carried. She had known the faces of men chasing her for her fortune, the masks people wore in her presence. But this man. He looked at her as if she were human, not a checkbook. The next day, Evelyn drove into town. Not in her usual designer clothes, not with an entourage, but in jeans and a plain tee. She found the address she'd memorized from the repair shop receipt Daniel had tossed aside. It was a modest home surrounded by overgrown grass and chipped paint, but something about it felt warm, alive. She knocked. It was Lily who answered. "Hi there, sweetie," Evelyn said with a smile. "Is your dad home?" Lily nodded, wide-eyed. Daniel came to the door, surprised, holding a bouquet of fresh wild roses. "Oh," he said, startled, "these are for you." Her eyes softened, heart swelling at the gesture. "You picked these, for me?" He scratched the back of his neck, flustered. "I didn't have anything fancy. But these grow wild near the field, and I thought they might brighten your day." Evelyn took the bouquet gently, pressing it to her chest. "They're the most beautiful flowers I've ever received." They talked for hours on the porch, sipping sweet tea. Laughing like old friends. Daniel shared stories about his late wife, how he'd raised Lily alone since she was 2. He worked 3 jobs, farm hand, mechanic, and janitor, to make ends meet. He didn't complain. He only spoke of gratitude, for his daughter, for each day, even the hard ones. Evelyn didn't reveal who she was, not yet. She wanted him to see her, not the wealth that shadowed her name. And Daniel, in turn, gave her something no man ever had, honesty, peace, and the kind of attention that wasn't trying to buy anything in return. Over the next few weeks, Evelyn kept visiting. She helped Lily with homework, brought groceries, and sometimes just sat with Daniel watching the stars in silence. Their bond deepened, hearts slowly stitching together in the quiet moments. Then, one rainy evening, Evelyn's secret unraveled. Daniel had taken Lily to the city hospital for a severe asthma attack. They had no insurance, and the receptionist wouldn't admit her without a deposit. Daniel stood in the lobby, helpless, pleading, on the verge of tears. And then Evelyn appeared. Within minutes, doctors were rushing Lily into care. Evelyn had made one phone call. Daniel turned to her, drenched and stunned. How did you do that?" She sighed, gently taking his hand. "Daniel, I haven't been completely honest. My name is Evelyn Carter. I own Carter Enterprises." His mouth parted, eyes clouded with disbelief and something like heartbreak. "So you're rich?" "I'm a millionaire, yes. But I didn't lie to you. I just didn't want you to look at me differently." Daniel stepped back, struggling with a storm of emotions. Why would someone like you come here? Spend time with us. Because I needed to feel something real again. And you gave me that. You gave me roses when you had nothing. You treated me with kindness, without asking for anything. You saw me, not my bank account. I didn't fall for your situation, Daniel. I fell for your soul. There was silence. Heavy. Honest. And then, slowly, Daniel stepped forward and took her hand again. I'm still just a poor man with a daughter to raise. I've got nothing to offer you, Evelyn. She smiled through tears. You've already given me more than anyone ever has. A home. A heart. A reason to believe in love again. Months later, the town watched as the Moore home transformed, not just in paint and repairs, but in spirit. Evelyn and Daniel married in the backyard under an archway of wild roses. There were no gold-lined invitations, no celebrity guests. Just neighbors, laughter, and Lily throwing petals in the air. Daniel never stopped working, though Evelyn offered him the world. He insisted on keeping his dignity, earning his keep, and being the man his daughter could look up to. And Evelyn. She found what no money could buy, a man who saw past her riches, a girl who hugged her like a mother, and a life that finally felt like home.